In a similar way that many read into the John passage to envision Yeshua enthusiastically celebrating Chanukah, another reason why Messianics like to celebrate it is that they also read into and spiritualize the chanukiah with Messianic sensibilities. But should we? Dr. David Stern, in his Jewish New Testament commentary, encapsulates the common biblically inspired sentiment among Messianic Jews. He says, Chanukah is celebrated using a special Chanukah menorah with 9 lights. One uses a match to light the Shammash, servant, and it is then employed to light the other candles. The imagery is rich. Yeshua, the light of the world, came as a servant to give light to everyone so that we might be lights to others. And while there's no denying that such imagery really preaches to the Messianic and Christian eye and ear, we need to take a step back for a second to consider whether the Chanukiah itself really warrants such symbolism. First, we know that the Chanukiah is an innovation of Judaism. It's extra-biblical and is used to commemorate a miracle of oil which may or may not have happened. Second, and here's where things start getting interesting, the Chanukiah, while apparently ancient, was not explicitly prescribed by the rabbis. On the contrary, most of the Talmudic references to the Chanukah lights are to oil lamps, which makes sense given what it's commemorating. There's even a discussion about which oil is best used for Chanukah. Apparently, it's olive oil. So instead of a candelabrum, in Talmudic times and earlier, you would have more likely used an oil lamp during Chanukah. And one of the most intriguing elements of this should completely change your perspective on the Chanukiah, because according to the Talmud, lighting 8 Chanukah lights the way we do today was a practice meant only for the, quote, extremely zealous. The basic expectation was that each household would only light a single lamp. Check out this excerpt from the Soncino version of the Talmud, Shabbat 21b. The bracketed parts are theirs. Our rabbis taught, the precept of Chanukah demands 1 light for a man and his household. For example, 1 light is lit every evening of the 8 days for the entire household. The zealous kindle a light for each member of the household, and the extremely zealous, on the first day, 1 is lit, and thereafter they are progressively increased in the manner in which we typically see today. So not only is the Chanukiah candelabrum unnecessary to celebrate Chanukah, only 1 oil lamp per night was considered by the rabbis to be more than sufficient. Lighting the Chanukiah the way we do today would have been considered extremely zealous. But that's not all. And this relates directly to the spiritualization of the Shammash. The Talmud forbids the use of the Chanukah lights for any ordinary function, such as normal, natural, common sense things like casting usable light for seeing in the dark, providing heat, or transferring a flame from one lamp to another. So it was from these prohibitions that the tradition of the Shammash arose. Since the Chanukah lights weren't allowed to be used to light other lights, the Shammash was invented on a technicality to serve that function. It was added to the Chanukah traditions not out of any spiritual significance, but merely as a ceremonial convenience to satisfy a rabbinic restriction. Should we not find it curious, then, that something as innocuous and entirely contrived as the Shammash would garner such profound meaning as a representation of Yeshua? Now, I get the imagery, I really do. The servant is special and set apart from the others. On some modern Chanukiot, it's even elevated above them. Matthew 20:28 says that the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And John 1:9 says that Yeshua is the true light, which enlightens every man. No doubt it's a glorious picture of our Master, even more so when we imagine that it's been hidden for centuries in plain view of Yeshua's own Jewish people. But the fact remains that when we see Yeshua in the Chanukiah and the Shammash candle, we're seeing him in a rabbinic institution, not anything that was given to us by God. We're being inspired by something that was later added to the holiday and invented to circumvent a man-made prohibition against nature and reason. So should we see Yeshua in the Chanukiah and the Shammash candle? We certainly can if we choose to see it that way. But if we do, I think it's worth considering that we're just seeing things where they ought not to be, or at least making too much out of something that God never intended to get our attention.